The final artist I wanted to look at in our discussion of artists kind of leading into the concepts of modern art is actually Honore Daumier. And Daumier is an artist I don't think a lot of people recognize or look at in connection to the period and maybe an influence that he had. Again, not when you look at his work, to me, I can always see the influence in the contemporary with people like Norman Rockwell. It's pretty obvious that when you look at this, Norman Rockwell was influenced by Daumier, in addition to many, many other people. Daumier was an incredibly prolific artist during his time. He did over 500 paintings, as you can see. One of the more famous images we have from him is actually the Third Class Carriage from 1864. And again, I really love Daumier because what I think he does is in many ways he has a very similar approach to Gustave Courbet, where he's showing us the reality of life, if you will. But what we do find from him, again, from like times like 1863, are these simplistic pictures, but when you really look at them, there's a tremendous amount of abstraction in this. If you look at how he's treated the background and very much simplified it into these basic organic forms and used it as color, it is really remarkable. We see kind of this same kind of technique, if you will, in one of the series he did. This is for Don Quixote. He was obviously an illustrator as much as anything. But again, when we look at this and we think of the concepts of abstraction and we think of the ideas of people a little bit farther down the road, it's really kind of amazing to me that more people don't look at Daumier and give him the credit that credit is due. Here we have Don Quixote and the Dead Mule from 1865. Again, a rather complex picture. You can see how it's balanced out between the two. But again, most of what we think of from Daumier is from illustrations. This is a scene he has from Hamlet, and it has almost this kind of cartoonish kind of character to it. And very much like Norman Rockwell, I think that this is one of the reasons he might be overlooked as an artist, is that he does work that's kind of like this. Again, the gentleman from the Tale of Hercules here, where he has to clean out the stable. A delightful little character, almost looks like something from a Disney movie. But again, very much like Rockwell, I think that these two artists are overlooked because of what they do. But when we look at Daumier, the interesting thing to me is that he really does kind of show modern life. He shows the modern life of the moment, if you will. And again, a lot of it is very refreshing to us. We have a man kind of catching the ride on the back of a carriage. If you think about the kids from the 40s and 50s and that kind of thing. We also have political pieces like this one showing attacks upon the people by the French soldiers in this very famous scene where a whole family was actually gunned down in connection to a soldier being killed by someone throwing stones from the top of the roof. So we do see this kind of political angle directly in his work as well. And again, this is a little bit harder to see, but as you can see, what he's done is he's taken the military individuals and essentially made them into animals. This is the dogs playing poker, but much in a much more serious way, but with different animals. He was very much a critic of Louis Philippe, and as you can see, he's kind of, we have a portrait here of Louis Philippe and some of the cartoons that we have by Daumier kind of being directly critical of Philippe's reign. And again, this is the reign that we have before Napoleon III and before the Franco-Prussian War. You see a lot of these kind of politically inspired cartoons and lithography as much as anything else. And this is also a reminder that this is an incredibly popular medium at the time. Printmaking is an incredibly popular thing, not only with the artists, but also with the next generation of people that will come along. We'll get back to this subject soon enough. Lawyer with a Plea, again, kind of showing this individual in this kind of cartoonish, almost abstract manner. Really, this wonderful little painting depicting someone you would actually see. But then on the other side of the coin, we have things like the 1860 uprising, where we do get this wonderful sensation of life and energy from this, and the way that he's painting this individual with these broken brushstrokes, kind of bringing about this color of light, but then as we move off into the distance. And again, when we look at things like this and how he's creating this impasto effect upon this woman's face, really building up layers, and again, this kind of weird abstract kind of sensation. It's very strange to think that these paintings actually come from 1858 rather than from 1920 or so. But for me, the thing that I always love the most are just his depictions of people, of the populace, of them dealing with some of the newer ideas that they have at the time. Again, these people pushing into these crowded trains or being in a balcony. Again, you have to consider that a lot of these things are newer inventions for the time period. Things like the balcony are a reflection of modern Paris. Again, this idea of having these train systems within Paris, a modern concept of Paris. And it's almost like we've just wandered onto a train and sat down. And this is what we would actually see across from us. An unhappy young child hung on a wall by his nurse, and if we look in the background, we see the nurse is actually off dancing with a gentleman. Again, a lot of these things, a lot of his work is very, very humorous, but it resonates because a lot of the topics are as popular then as they are now. The chess players, and when we look at these two people in proximity with each other, they're not only playing chess, they're almost opposites of each other. We have this lengthy gentleman in white and this more chubby looking gentleman in black with his, I love the way that his fist is pushing away his cheek. And again, just as a reminder, when we look at images of some of his paintings from the 1850s, again, it's a very distinct reminder of how far, at least in my mind, he was ahead of a lot of the concepts of the time. When we look at something like this and we see these fluid brushstrokes, we really are reminded more of work by the or the post-impressionist people like Vincent van Gogh, leading forward into more of the even completely abstract frames of art. And again, most of that occurs pretty far from this period. The really enjoyable thing, again, as I mentioned, is he spends time in the theater. He's showing us what's actually occurring on the stage, creating these wonderful characters out of the characters that you would actually go and see. And again, if you imagine a lot of the people that actually would be seeing his images might not actually have been able to go to see the theater. These are obviously things that they might see in newspapers or things along these lines. So he's caring for this sense of imagination and spectacle for these people to enjoy as much as anything within his work. And what I love so dearly is not that he shows the stage, but he, of course, shows the people observing the stage. And again, when you think about it, this is a very interesting thing, because Daumier is one of the first people I think of as an art critic to the critics, if you will. Another beautiful piece kind of combining this abstract brushstroke work with, again, this concept of the theater. Again, a beautiful image, very much ahead of his time period in terms of what he's actually representing here. I also think one of the aspects of his work that can't be overlooked is the great variety of emotions and scenes he's really kind of introducing us to. This is backstage, and we get a sense of sorrow and hard work from these individuals. And again, you wonder if they're even scraping by at the end of the day, but you can still see this man dressed as a clown. As I was mentioning earlier, I think he's one of the first people to make art about people looking at art. This is the print lover, and as I mentioned, prints are just incredibly popular at this time, and this is him actually viewing or making art out of someone looking at the work itself. And as we've seen some of these images before when we were looking at the Impressionist, and again, this idea of him actually revealing how people are actually reacting to the art of their time. And again, he does this in kind of a cartoonish manner, but this is a real statement, if you will. He's critiquing the salon and the idea that it's so difficult in order to actually see these works. And again, this wonderful cartoon of the artist looking at this model and then again looking at the reality of life. That's not this neoclassical beauty. And then we just have simple images like this one of a group of people looking at beautiful paintings or prints on a wall. Again, the simplicity of it and the almost the everydayness of it, I think, removes some of the aspects of fine art that we appreciate. And again, we always seem to laugh too at his work as well. And we need to remember, as we're moving forward, art is changing, and a lot of the dynamics that we have with art as we move through artists like Courbet are radically becoming different, and a lot of this is a statement about that. And again, just a view of the everyday of people, and again from the Salon of 1842, and again the idea of the silhouette of this woman looking back. Again, if you're familiar with the work of Norman Rockwell, then these are images that we almost resonate so deeply within us because of that same thing that Norman Rockwell is able to achieve, this universalness within people, fathers and their children, and men looking upon great idols and wondering about themselves, and of course the imaginary invalid. I love the gentleman in the background with these spectacles looking out towards us. This is a wonderful image to kind of end our conversation on Daumier, and I hope, if nothing else, if you have never heard of Daumier or seen his work, that you might have a better appreciation for his work as we are leaving the theater. He's an important person to know in the context of contemporary art.